Imagine waking up tomorrow and every package you ordered is delivered exactly on time. The power grid is humming flawlessly. Global markets are trading at, light speed.
Right.
But not a single human being on Earth can actually explain how or why it's all working.
Right.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. We are in the year 2026. The water is running. Your social media feeds are refreshing instantly. And these massive investments in AI infrastructure are just flowing seamlessly across borders.
Seamlessly, yeah.
By every observable metric, human civilization looks like this perfectly orchestrated machine. Yet, sitting here looking at all the data we have today, you probably feel this creeping, quiet sensation that the world is getting fundamentally harder to grasp.
Yeah, it is a very distinct feeling, almost a futuristic kind of uncertainty.
Futuristic is a good word for it.
Because, if you look back at how society conceptualized instability just a decade or two ago, the anxiety was almost entirely centered around this idea of deterministic collapse.
Like the classic doomsday stuff.
Exactly. The fear was very binary, very loud. The power grid fails, the banks close their doors, the trucks literally stop moving on the highway. We thought of a crisis as a sudden visible halt to everything.
Right, a breakdown you could point to.
But the structural analyses we are examining today, they point to a phenomenon that is far more insidious, actually. The power is still on, the systems are functioning perfectly, but they are undergoing a massive systemic loss of readability.
Loss of readability. So the power grid is on, but nobody knows where the breaker box is anymore.
That's a great way to put it, yeah.
It kind of feels like it's like we're driving a highly advanced car, right?
Yeah.
But the hood is permanently welded shut.
Welded shut, yes.
The vehicle accelerates beautifully, the climate control is flawless, but the moment a strange rattling starts deep inside the engine block, you have absolutely no way to diagnose it.
No way at all.
I mean, you couldn't access the parts even if you had the right tools in your garage.
Right, and underneath that welded hood is a premise that really defines modern complexity. Highly integrated systems can continue to operate seamlessly while becoming completely unreadable to the humans who originally built them.
Completely unreadable.
We are at this absolute peak of global connectivity, but the structural realities of that connection, they've just vanished. We can no longer map the limits of our own infrastructure.
We can't see the edges anymore.
We can't see who is actually supporting the weight or, where the friction is generating heat or where critical redundancies have been quietly stripped away in the name of optimization.
Oh, wait, hold on. Isn't this just the division of labor? I mean, we've been doing this since the Industrial Revolution, right? Like a farmer in 1920 didn't necessarily know how the foundry cast the steel for his tractor's engine, but he still drove the tractor.
Sure.
So why isn't AI managing logistics or, an automated market maker any different from an assembly line worker specializing in one tiny task 100 years ago?
It's a fair question, but division of labor implies that the total system can still be mapped by an architect.
Oh, okay.
Right. The mechanic in 1920 could take the tractor apart piece by piece, observe the physical laws of combustion, and put it back together. Today's systems operate on a completely different paradigm.
How so?
Well,
Yeah.
take the massive kind of invisible webs of SaaS software as a service dependency.
Oh, yeah. Everything is a subscription now.
Exactly. A modern regional hospital, for example, it doesn't just run on a central computer in the basement anymore.
Right.
Patient intake might use like 50 different microservices. Insurance verification is hosted on an AWS cloud server in Virginia.
Which is managed by a contractor in India.
Yes, and that relies on a cybersecurity API generated by an algorithm in Israel.
And if the insurance verification fails, the hospital staff just gets like a generic error 503 on their screen.
That's all they see.
The nurse at the desk can't take the system apart. And the hospital's own IT department couldn't take it apart even if they wanted to because, well, they don't own the underlying code or the physical servers.
They don't even own the map of how those servers communicate.
Wow.
The map itself is dynamic. It's changing milliseconds at a time as algorithms reroute traffic to optimize server load. The actual meaning of the connection is totally severed from human logic.
It's just a black box.
And this extends into physical space, too, through what systems theorists call shadow infrastructure or off-budget governance.
Shadow infrastructure. What did that look like?
Well, you might assume your city's water system is a straightforward public utility.
Right. You pay your water bill to the city.
Right. But realistically, the sensors regulating the water pressure might be managed by an algorithmic cloud provider. And that provider is funded by a special purpose financial vehicle that exists entirely outside of traditional public scrutiny or municipal budgets.
So the infrastructure operates beyond human observation. But, I mean, if the hood is welded shut and I can't map the engine, why should I care? As long as the car gets me to work.
That's the trap.
Right. Like, I don't know the exact physics of the magnetron inside my microwave, but my dinner still gets hot. Why is this unreadability actually dangerous if the outcome is still functional?
Because the danger emerges from this fascinating paradox in how these unreadable systems try to convince you they are safe.
Convince you.
Yeah. To maintain its incredible velocity, the high-speed operating system of modern civilization has to automate its explanations.
Automate its explanation.
It buries you in data to mask the unreadability. Everywhere you look, you are handed KPIs, key performance indicators.
Oh man, the endless QPIs at work.
Dynamic risk models, instant AI-generated summaries of vastly complex geopolitical or economic situations.
We have endless dashboards. If I want to know the status of global shipping today, I don't go down to the docks to look at the boats.
No, of course not.
Pull up a web portal with 50 different charts and a million data points showing me container flow efficiency.
And that massive increase in explanation actively reduces your grounded understanding of reality.
Wait, really? Having more data reduces my understanding.
Yes, because to generate those smooth, instant metrics and perfect AI summaries, the high-speed operating system must aggressively filter raw reality.
It filters it out.
It systematically deletes friction, it strips out the localized context, the geographical delays, and most importantly, it strips out the exhausted, on-the-ground judgments of human workers.
The human element just vanishes from the dashboard.
Systems researchers actually refer to this deleted element as care loads.
Care loads. I like that term. Like the invisible, unquantifiable human effort required to keep a rigid system from collapsing when reality doesn't perfectly match the algorithm's expectations.
Exactly. Think about an automated logistics network optimizing a delivery driver's route.
Okay.
The algorithm calculates distance, average traffic speed, and package volume. It outputs a pristine metric, 120 stops per day, 3 minutes per stop.
Sounds efficient on paper.
Right. But what the algorithm deletes entirely is the human care load. It doesn't see the driver navigating a broken apartment buzzer.
Or factoring in the physical exhaustion of running up 4 flights of stairs because a service elevator has been broken for 3 weeks.
Yes. It doesn't account for the driver sweet-talking a security guard just to bend a loading dock rule so they can park for 2 minutes.
The algorithm doesn't know any of that.
The algorithm just processes the input and output package delivered on time. The dashboard at corporate headquarters shows a flawless 100% efficiency rating.
So the dashboard is giving us a million numbers, but none of those numbers tell us if the wheels are about to fall off the driver.
Exactly. The output is completely severed from its provenance.
Right. The AI infrastructure gives us perfectly formatted answers, but we have absolutely no way to verify the structural integrity of the process that arrived at that answer.
And so we interact exclusively with the output of black boxes to make our real-world decisions.
Which is wild when you think about it.
We don't know the historical biases weighted into an algorithmic risk model or the specific human friction that was erased to give us a green light on a supply chain dashboard.
Which means, and I think this is the core of it, the real crisis may not be collapse, but systems continuing to function while no longer being understandable.
That framing is the fundamental anchor for understanding modern psychology.
Really? Psychology?
Yes, because this macro-level opacity, it trickles all the way down into the everyday life membrane of the individual.
How does that show up for, the person listening right now?
Well, when you look at how people interact with SNS, social networking services, there is a profound chronic exhaustion that permeates the culture right now.
Oh, yeah. Everybody is tired.
And people often misdiagnose this as information overload. The working theory is that we are simply consuming too much data.
But that's not it.
No. We're not tired because there are too many articles in the newsfeed. We're exhausted because of a loss of grounding.
Loss of grounding.
The data flows endlessly. The AI answers instantly. The economic indicators update by the second. But the shared basis for how to evaluate that information, the foundational reality we once agreed upon, has vanished into the black box.
It's gone.
When an AI generates a pristine summary of a complex political event, but you have no idea what friction or dissenting nuance was algorithmically deleted to create that summary, you have no firm ground to stand on to judge its truth.
Wow. So you're constantly forced into a state of chronic short-term judgment.
Exactly.
Every single minor decision, how to interpret a news event, what consumer product is safe, who to trust it, requires you to build an entire worldview from scratch over and over again using fragmented outputs from machines you can't observe.
And the human mind is not designed to rebuild its entire ontological foundation 50 times a day.
No, of course not. It's exhausting.
We can analyze this exhaustion through a framework known as the NIOS layers.
NIOS. What does that stand for?
Narrative, internal values, and the operational system.
Okay, break that down for me.
So the narrative is the story we are told. It's the surface data, the AI summaries, the endless stream of content on your feeds.
The stuff we consume every day.
Right. Then the internal values represent our human expectations, our biology, and our psychology.
Our actual human needs.
Yes. And finally, the operational system is the physical machinery of society. The opaque algorithms, the global logistics, the massive data centers.
Okay, so narrative, internal values, operational system.
And those three layers are moving at wildly different speeds. The narrative moves at the speed of light. A new global consensus is generated every hour.
Right. The trending topics change before you even wake up.
The operational system moves at the speed of automated global infrastructure. But our internal values, our biology and sociology, move at human speed.
Because it takes time to build trust.
Exactly.
It takes time to process grief or, actually understand complexity.
And when you have layers moving at vastly different velocities, it generates massive shear force.
Sheer force.
Invisible friction. The human being is sandwiched between a hyper-accelerated narrative layer and an entirely opaque operational machine.
That sounds incredibly stressful.
Because the machine is a black box, you feel the tension, the biological exhaustion, but you cannot locate the source of the pressure.
But if this sheer force is happening globally, and millions of people feel this intense biological friction against an unreadable system, my instinct says we should be seeing the streets on fire.
You'd think so.
I mean, we have seen historical revolutions sparked by much less pressure than what we are describing right now. Where are the visible cracks? Why is the world so eerily quiet?
That quietness is often deeply misunderstood. We have a historical bias that equates a lack of visible conflict with systemic stability.
We think if it's quiet, it's fine.
Right. When we see a society under immense pressure but lacking sweeping protests or massive market crashes, we just assume the structure is holding strong.
But it's not.
In reality, modern unreadable systems undergo a process called calcification.
Calcification. That implies something becoming rigidly hard rather than, flexible.
Yes. The architecture of our current era is actually designed to trap and hide friction rather than resolve it.
To hide it.
Look again at those global logistics networks. They are built on layers of endless subcontracting.
Oh, yeah.
You purchase an item online, and it might touch a dozen invisible entities before it reaches your door.
Right.
The parent company subcontracts the shipping, who subcontracts the regional freight, who subcontracts the last-mile delivery to an independent contractor.
So if a localized node in that network is pushed past the breaking point, say, a specific warehouse where the workers are subjected to just unbearable operational strain, you don't get a systemic visible crash.
No. The algorithmic routing simply bypasses the failing node, shifting the pressure elsewhere in the network.
Wow. So the tension doesn't disappear.
Never. The sheer force between the human workers and the operational demands is immense, but it remains trapped inside the black box.
And the parent company's dashboard still shows optimal flow.
Exactly. The system absorbs the shock by becoming incredibly rigid. It calcifies, losing its internal flexibility in order to maintain the outward illusion of uninterrupted speed.
So we are mistaking a system being frozen for a system being stable.
Yes.
That is a terrifying miscalculation. I mean, just because the ice on the lake hasn't cracked under our weight yet doesn't mean it's 2 feet thick.
That's a great analogy.
We look at the smooth surface of 2026. The apps are loading flawlessly, the capital is flowing, and we assume we're standing on solid ground. But underneath, the system has lost its redundancy. It is frozen in place to handle the invisible pressure.
And a calcified system maintains its connectivity, but completely sacrifices its resilience.
Right.
It cannot adapt to novel, unmodeled threats. This is why waiting for a traditional loud collapse to warn us that society is in trouble is a fatal error in judgment.
Because it won't be loud.
If you wait for the frozen, calcified black box to actually crack open, it is far too late to manage the fallout. The sheer unreadability of the system is the early warning sign.
Which leaves us in a very, very difficult position.
It does.
I mean, we cannot uninvent hyperdimensional AI. We
Mm.
cannot magically unspool the global supply chain and return to a 19th century local village economy.
No.
The black box is going to remain closed. So if we accept that civilization's infrastructure will continue to operate while remaining fundamentally unreadable, what does actual survival look like?
Well, we have to completely redefine what stability means for a highly complex society.
Redefine stability.
Because the loss of readability arrives long before any visible breakdown, stability can no longer be defined as maintaining perfect fixed order or preventing all local failures.
Right.
Instead, the focus shifts entirely to resynchronization capability.
Resynchronization capability. How does that translate from systems theory into the life of the person listening to this right now?
It means cultivating the ability to find a shared baseline when the macro system inevitably gets out of sync. When the overarching operational layer becomes too complex to read, you stop wasting human energy trying to force the black box open. You cannot map the global algorithm.
It's impossible.
Instead, you focus on creating visible, understandable connections at a completely different, localized scale.
So, for example, if the global GPS constellation suddenly goes offline, you don't stand in the street screaming at the sky trying to fix a satellite you can't reach.
Right.
You pull out a physical map of your neighborhood, you look at the landmarks right in front of you, and you literally synchronize your position with the person standing next to you.
You reestablish the ground beneath your own feet.
Yeah.
You build smaller, readable systems within the unreadable whole. That means intentionally restoring local care, the very human elements that high-speed algorithms systematically delete.
Those care loads we talked about.
Yes. It requires investing in observable infrastructure, where a community can actually see the immediate cause and effect of their actions.
Like what? What does observable infrastructure look like?
Things like community solar grids, localized mesh communication networks, mutual aid structures,
Things you can touch.
spaces, whether physical or digital, where the provenance of an action is visible, allowing humans to reground their realities together.
You know, we have spent the vast majority of human history grounding our realities in the physical, biological world.
Absolutely.
Our ancestors grounded their truth in the changing of the seasons, the local harvest, the observable weather patterns.
Right.
But today, the climate is being aggressively managed by geoengineering tech. Our harvest arrives via an invisible algorithmic supply chain, and our social lives exist within a digital membrane that constantly overwrites the physical one.
We have transitioned into an era where the dashboards will keep multiplying, and the systems will only grow more beautifully opaque.
Beautifully opaque.
The most vital skill for navigating the coming decades will not be the capacity to process larger volumes of data,
Oh.
or the ability to build a slightly more accurate dashboard. It will be the psychological discipline to recognize when you have lost contact with the ground.
And possessing the communal tools to reestablish that contact.
Exactly.
You cannot mistake the AI summary for the territory.
No.
As you navigate this flawlessly humming, intensely unreadable world today, as you interact with the instant answers and the invisible networks quietly running the machinery of 2026, it forces a totally new evolutionary question. As the digital abstraction overwrites the physical world, where do we still ground our judgments in reality?